Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
Welcome to episode number 22 of the Batman on Film Social Hour. I am the founder of Batman on Film, Bill Jett Ramey. And this is my little show on Batman on Film. So appreciate you joining us. This is an audio only podcast version, but belly up at the bar with your drink of choice. And me and the great senior BOF contributor, Peter Verra, we're going to talk about, Pete, how you doing, first of all?
I'm doing good. Enjoying the summer, lots of barbecues, lots of beers. So
Yeah,
having a good time. I'm not smoking any meatloaf like some people, but
I did that. What did you do for the 4th? You told me you were lazy and did hamburgers and hot dogs.
Hamburgers and hot dogs, just basic, just kind of hang out, just talk and not really worry about it. When you smoke something, you got to keep an eye on it, temperature, internal temp, charcoal, all that, if you're using charcoal. So we had a very nice and relaxing 4th, just, instant fire with the old propane grill.
Okay.
So we took it easy.
So I'm watching the Today Show yesterday morning with Rachel had it on, and I heard them talking barbecue. So I walked out, I heard barbecue. I walked out, and it was Al Roker and 2 of the other girls that were with him. And they were talking about barbecue, and it was like, what does barbecue mean to you? So growing up in New Jersey, if you're going to a barbecue, what did that mean?
Steak, chicken, burgers, hot dogs.
Okay. I think Dylan Dreyer is a New Jersey native and said that's what it meant to her. A barbecue was burgers and hot dogs, basically. Okay.
I'm the only one out of like my family who would be considered a pit master. So like my barbecues are a little bit more,
So has that changed now for you since you are a guru of
oh yeah, I mean,
of that. When you say barbecue now, do you thinking brisket and
it's whatever dead animal I could cook on fire.
Okay.
That's barbecue to me.
Okay. Because growing up here in Texas, you go to a barbecue, it was going to be basically you're doing Texas barbecue. You're doing brisket, you're doing chicken, you're doing links, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you're going to a cookout, that's where you would have probably hamburgers, hot dogs, and maybe somebody would throw on a steak or something.
Because for me, I buy all sorts of things for outdoor cooking. Like I just got a kettle grill, so I've been messing around with that, and I recently just bought a rotisserie for the kettle grill. So I've been putting Cornish hens. I've been putting ham.
Okay.
I put a London broil. I put a pork roast on there. So whatever I could get my hands on and put it on over the fire, I'm down to cook.
I'm thinking about investing in one of those big green eggs. Have you ever used one of them?
I do not, but people love them. It's a wonderful piece of cooking machinery. You can't go wrong with big green egg. If you're going to buy a big green egg, you got to buy a Trompo King. And it's an interesting little gadget. You stack your meat. You can make, I think it's called El Paso tacos.
Okay.
Check it out, trompoking.com. I think that's the name of the website. And it's the greatest thing that I've ever bought. It's the greatest little tool or accessory for my grill that I bought. I've got gyros, tacos. It's phenomenal.
If I get an electric smoker, is that heresy to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I like charcoal, but
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Like I said, 4th of July, I was lazy, and like, there's nothing wrong with a propane grill. So, but electric smoker just doesn't sit
Okay.
right.
All right. Because I'm looking into getting a smoker as well.
Some pit masters don't even like propane, so it all depends on who you talk
Yeah.
to.
For the 4th, I got 2 turkey loins.
That sounds delicious.
There's a new place down at the Star in Frisco. It's probably 10 minutes from me. And what is the name of it? It's a meat place. And they've got, like, when I say meat, dude, they've got everything you can think of. From
Mhm.
chicken to alligator to, I mean, fresh shrimp from the Gulf. I mean, everything. And that's where I got those at. And then I did a marinade with garlic and
sounds good.
Shinerbach and smoked them. I've got the smoked thing. I can wing it on chicken and turkey. I haven't tried a brisket doing it. You know, I'm going to get off. And this is not a cooking show. I promise. This is not a cooking
yet.
show, but it could be. But I take all. I got 2 little smoke boxes, and I use on the side, and I put them on top of because I have the natural gas hookup, and I can get it down to about 225, and with a good smoke in there. So, but I'm thinking about getting a smoker. I may just. We'll see. We're going to see. I know people are smoking. They smoke briskets on those big green eggs. So
You could do anything on that big green egg.
yeah,
That's legit.
yeah.
That's no joke.
But I got to give you my Shiner and garlic marinade recipe, and I did some smoked potato salad, which was unbelievable.
That sounds good.
I smoked the potatoes first,
Mhm.
put them in the refrigerator overnight, and then diced them. Made a potato salad out of it. It was good. So, all right. Can you get boudin up there?
I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what boudin is? Yes, you do.
I do not.
You're gonna find out when you come down here in March.
Oh, dang toot now, baby, will we?
Boudin is a sausage made usually from pork. It's pork. It's like a pork and rice dressing that's stuffed into a casing and then smoked.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's a Cajun thing.
I'll tell you what, though, when I'm coming down there, if Dick's Shoes doesn't have some of those mashed potatoes, I don't know if I'm ever coming back.
You got to worry about Dick's Shoes just being there, period, much less his mashed potatoes. Okay, sorry about all this. So, all right. Anyway, this is episode number 22 of the Batman on Film Social Hour. I'm with senior BOF contributor Pete Verra. I am Bill Jett Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. And yesterday, news broke that the great Richard Donner, the director of Superman, the movie, the Goonies, what am I missing here? Lethal Weapon
franchise.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon franchise.
Scrooged.
Yeah. Passed away at the age of 91. That's a good run. 91.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be lucky to get that far.
Yeah. So,
and he was still active too. He was
Yeah.
actively in development, trying to get Lethal Weapon 5 off the ground. There've been various talks that movie was going to happen. Who knows about it now? It's a moot point. We'll worry about that in the months to come, but it's just time to honor this legend, titan of the film industry, who's just brought countless smiles to millions and millions of people.
Yes. And it's sad when someone passes, but 91 is a hell of a run. And he's left, and it's also good when you leave something behind as some things plural behind that are iconic, like he has in filmmaking. Top of the list has got to be Superman the movie, but I mean the Goonies
I think the Goonies can rival Superman movie.
It's
to
close,
be honest
brother.
with you.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as original content. I mean, I think that is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And then I watched Superman the movie last night. I watched it digitally, and I stumbled across that I had the 3-hour TV cut.
Okay.
And that I used to watch on Pix 11 as a kid up here in the tri-state area in New Jersey. And it's just, I loved every second of it. It's just so sad because I think about the people that I've seen these movies with and how Richard Donner has kind of been a huge part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Superman, Goonies. I mean, I watched those Lethal Weapon movies as a kid, probably when I shouldn't have, but my parents were a little lenient.
Yeah.
But they were great. The only Lethal Weapon movie I unfortunately was able to see in theaters was 4, but I still love it. I love Mel Gibson, Danny Glover. A lot of the movies that Donner made me the film fan that I am today.
Sure. I I'm gonna let you go first. When was the first time you saw Superman the movie?
I was a kid at my grandmother's house sitting on her plastic couch on, like I said earlier, channel 11. And that's the first time I saw it. And
So
I
you were,
remember it.
you saw it on TV,
Yeah.
probably what, in the 80s?
I mean, I was
Mid
born in
80s?
86
Or the
so
late 80s?
yeah, late
Early
80s, early
90s?
90s, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
So it had been out. It was a 10 plus ish year old movie at
Yeah.
that time. It was already considered, an iconic American film by
Mhm.
that time. I saw it, Pete. I did see it in the theater. I was, let's see, 78. I had just turned 13. So I was in what, seventh, eighth grade? And,
Mhm.
but I remember the hype. As much as you could hype a film back in the mid late slash 70s.
So what was that like? What was marketing like at that point? Was it just you going to the theater
Yeah.
and seeing a poster in the cinema? Like, was that it?
Well,
Like,
I was reading.
sure there were TV
okay,
spots.
here's the thing. I found out about it reading comic books, DC comic books, and there was probably
there's no Starlog then, right?
I don't. Not that I remember. Maybe Fangora and stuff like that. I don't
Okay.
remember. I didn't get into the comic scene in Starlog until probably the 80s.
Okay.
But so we're talking 76, 77. I remember, and I still have them. When I was going through some of my old comics, I found the ad. There was in DC Comics, they'd have an ad. You could be in the new Superman movie.
I see them in back issues just now.
Yeah, they had a contest for that. I entered the contest. I did not win, unfortunately, but it was one of those where you would have to, you had to fill it out, cut it out of the comic book, and mail it in.
Those ads are like heresy to me because it's like, why would I cut my comic book?
Yeah.
Why would you do this on the back of the panel? So that's funny.
So, well, you've seen some of those old comics. I mean, there was all kinds
I
of
own
stuff.
some of them in my basement.
There's all kind of stuff to fill out and cut up cut and send, back in those days. So
that's how they used to make you buy.
That's how I found out the movie was coming. Probably 76, probably around 76, and then 77. Of course, they were filming in 77, I believe, and they filmed from March. I mean, like for almost a year, for a year and a half, because they were doing Superman 2 at the same time.
They were doing them simultaneously, yeah.
And so it was a long shoot, and they did, and then of course Superman the movie came out in December of 78. But man, I remember getting the making of Superman the movie little book, and I still have that as well. Talked about making the movie, talked about the whole thing of, they Mario Puzo, who is the author of The Godfather, wrote the treatment, this huge treatment for the film. The Salkinds had bought the rights to Superman from DC Comics, and were actively wanting to make the movie. And I remember the big thing was, who do you cast as Superman? And they like every freaking big name back then, Robert Redford, Paul Newman, who were probably, Sylvester Stallone,
thank God that didn't happen. I know Bruce Jenner was actually up for the role at one point too.
Yeah.
I shared a video of Donner and Nolan talking in the Facebook group, and it was interesting. You could just tell that Donner and the Salkinds didn't get along from day one.
Yeah.
It was a rocky relationship, and we all know what eventually happened.
Yeah.
But the Salkinds tried to get the daughter's dentist.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
To get the role of Superman. They had him bring in for an audition.
And there's video of that. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. It's the first time I've heard of it. And it was interesting. Just hearing Donner talk about that stuff. And I was like, man, like he really kind of had like an uphill battle. And you could tell he was very passionate about Superman. And he, as he was talking to Nolan, he basically said, like, I took this job because they were going to destroy Superman.
Yeah.
And eventually you see what they did,
Yeah.
3 sequels later. So, Donner was kind of, he was our Michael Uslan before Michael Uslan, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he did this for us. And
It's great. It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Great analogy.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I remember the story is the daughter was like, my dentist looks just like Superman. And the screen test is ridiculous. I mean,
I'll have to Google it.
He's got blue eyes and it's kind of a square jaw. But he had this big 70s afro going on, and he comes and the suit is cheesy as hell. The one they were using for the screen test. But eventually Donner comes across Christopher Reeve, and who was a soap actor, even though he was he was a trained actor, Juilliard. He went to Juilliard with Robin Williams, and he was this skinny, blondish, brown-haired kid, and that's who Donner ended up casting, and the rest is history. And
he didn't go wrong. It was a great casting show. I mean, Christopher Reeves just brought like this charisma, and it's his smile. It doesn't matter. He embodied both versions of the character, and we've never had a bad Superman. Let's be brutally honest. Like, we've been very fortunate. Everyone they've cast in that role in live action has turned out to be has done a fantastic job. But like, there's a reason why Reeves just resonates with so many people. It's something about, because he's not like, Cavill's a big hulking human being, and Christopher Reeve is he looks like a normal guy. It's almost like, he looks like he could have alien powers.
He was quote unquote ripped for 77 when they filmed that, because he went through a whole training regiment.
If you look
David
at pictures
Prowse,
before and after.
Because they were going to do put him in that was part of that making of book I had. They were going to put him in a muscle suit underneath that. Actually George Reeves, there was padding in his suit in the 50s TV series.
I get the last names confused all the time. I think I just did 2 seconds ago.
and so Christopher Reeve didn't want the padding, so he went through like a 90-day bodybuilding regiment with David Prowse, who played Darth Vader, the physical version of Darth Vader in Star Wars, and he looked like he looked jacked enough for that time to wear a spandex suit, with no padding, and was believable, with the black hair, and he just, he's still my Superman, as much as I liked Cavill, and you're right, I've liked most of the actors. I wasn't
even Dean Cain, as he's gone off the deep end, he was a good Superman.
I wasn't a huge fan of him, and I remember thinking why, for the most part, like, Superman doesn't have brown eyes, and whatever, at the time. So, and of course, Brandon Routh wore blue contacts, and
I enjoyed
Returns.
Superman.
Yeah, but I just, back to the hype of it. It was a big deal. As big of a media thing as you could have in 1978. And I think really it came on the cusp of Jaws in 76 and Star Wars in 77, which were huge, So you started getting more of these blockbuster type buildups, and with as much hype as you could give it without social media and the internet and the way we're used to things now.
Can't even imagine. How do you do things that way? Because we're so used to the digital age. But
I went on opening night. It was packed, and knew nothing about the plot or anything. That's just, that was the good old days when you could just go see a movie and know nothing about it going in and be thoroughly entertained. And that's spoiled.
Another thing that made it so special is just the supporting cast. I mean, we mentioned Buzo, Brando,
Yeah.
Hackman,
Yeah.
what Jackie Cooper, Glenn Ford, like those are
Yeah.
Terrence Stamp. He was
Yeah.
in that movie for a little bit. Like those are big, huge names. Ned Beatty, he
Mhm.
just passed away recently as well.
Mhm.
You know, it was a wonderful ensemble cast. It kind of like, oh man, I feel like it was like a huge stepping stone from films like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's,
just,
have you heard the story about um Donner convincing Gene Hackman to shave his mustache off for
no, I
playing
did not hear
Lex?
that. I
Yeah.
did not hear that.
Gene Hackman didn't want to shave his mustache off, right? To play Luthor. So Donner, who had a mustache,
Mhm.
shaved his and then had the makeup department put on a fake mustache that looked like the one he had.
Okay.
And he goes to Gene Hackman and says, "Look, man, I'm with you on the mustache thing, but we'll do it together. You shave yours off, I'll shave mine off." And and so Gene Hackman shaved his off, and Donner just then peeled his off. You know,
That's funny. I did not know
yeah,
that.
yeah. And so, but I remember seeing it, and yeah, just how big it was, and the build up to Superman coming. You finally see him, you know, flying out of the Fortress of Solitude, and I think that the helicopter, Lois helicopter rescue scene is one of the greatest segments in a superhero, not Superman,
Yeah.
superhero movie,
Yeah.
period, to this date still.
Hmm.
And to think they did that back then.
Well, there's a lot of things they did that were ahead of its time. You know,
Yeah.
just young Clark Kent racing the train. You know,
Yeah.
and just him flying in general. Again, in that
Yeah.
video that I shared on the Facebook group, Donner goes into detail on how they figured out how to do it. It took them like 6 months
Mhm.
to try to figure out how they can get a man to fly, and that was the famous tagline, like "You will believe a man can fly," and it's very groundbreaking. It just is. I mean,
Yeah.
just from the minute, just and you hear Donner talk about like how the production designer came up to him and was like, "This is how we're going to do Krypton." He just comes at him with like a book of crystals, and
Mhm.
Donner was like, "Okay, like I see what you're doing, and like
Yeah.
I get this." And you know, there's only in my mind, there's only two real negatives in that movie. It's how Marlon Brando says Krypton.
Yeah.
And the
Krypton.
ending, Krypton, and the
Yeah.
ending isn't as fluid as it probably should be, because obviously they were filming two movies and they had to
Mhm.
figure out how to make it into one. But it's still just, you know, the reason why we are where we are.
Yes.
You know, we don't get Batman 89.
That's where we're
Superman
moving to the
78.
legacy of it. What's your favorite scene in Superman the movie?
Oh man, for it's actually it's not what you would think. I literally mentioned 2 seconds ago. It's young Lois Lane trying to convince her parents that she saw this guy running. I was talking to Garrett about it last night. Like I adore that scene just because it's like it's, you know, foreshadowing
Yeah.
and it's just clever. There's so many good ones. The speech where he's talking to his father before the heart attack is
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. The helicopter scene's brilliant. Just any anytime Otis is on screen is amazing for me. You know, just the
Yeah.
whole 2.5 hours is just absolutely brilliant.
The
And
whole, and I'd say that, you know, that whole scene, I guess you call that a scene, the helicopter scene, but that whole
the back
segment,
alley
you know, oh yes. And
that
that's
inspired the entire scene
Wonder
in
Woman. Yeah. Yeah. The whole segment of Superman's first night, which includes you know, the helicopter scene and
saving the cat out of the tree.
yeah. And, you
Truth,
know,
justice, and the American way. And there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people are tired of that version of Superman, but I think that's the version of
that's what
Superman
people
that really,
love, man.
well, you know, except for certain groups of people.
Yeah.
You know, but there's room for both, and you know, you got to find somewhere that works in between, and you know, we're going to get there at some point. It's been a rocky road, I feel like, for Superman
Yeah.
since Superman 2. You know,
Superman 2. I even though Donner got booted and they reshot a bunch of stuff with Richard Lester, it's still one of my favorite superhero movies, you
yeah,
know.
no, it's great.
But we're gonna talk about the legacy here just a second. I just love that whole helicopter scene when he comes out and he looks at some of these kids now would have no clue about the phone booths. Phone booths went from actually being a booth.
Mhm.
You went in and closed the doors.
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I mean, vaguely. I mean, I
You've
remember
seen them, but
payphones.
yeah. Okay.
In my day, the phone booth was kind of turned in like half. It was kind of like on a pedestal, and it kind of like that had the half phone booth, so it kind
Yeah.
of covered you from
And
the rain. But you didn't have like I didn't ever went in like the full phone booth.
yeah, it's
that was
basically
already
what it
gone.
was. The one you just described is what he looks at when he comes out and he sees Lois's hat,
Yeah.
fall down. He looks up and he's looking like he's got.
And that leads to another great scene when he runs to the
Yeah.
revolving, and then there's the pimp. And he goes,
Yeah.
"Say, Jim, that's a
and-
bad outfit."
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
Excuse me.
just wonderful
And
70s.
the whole, he looks up, he looks at that phone booth up and down.
Yeah.
Well, and what was funny about it back then is that's what phone booths had evolved into
Mhm.
in the 70s. There weren't these ones you walked in because that's where Superman changed a lot. It was a big,
Yeah.
big deal in the comics. And that's what was so brilliant about that scene is he looks at it and then goes, and then he flies up and the whole don't worry, miss, I've got you, you've got me, who's got you? And then
Yeah.
he's up there and gentlemen, this this man needs help, and he's like, statistically speaking, flying is still
Oh,
the safest way to
also
travel,
love
and she's
the
just shaking her
cat
head.
burglar scene.
Yes.
That's a great scene too.
Yeah.
And, Mahoney, the first one's on me. Call
Yes.
the police station.
Yeah.
So
So the legacy is, without it, Pete, there ain't no Batman. There ain't no Batman 89. There's no Batman Begins. There's no Dark Knight trilogy, and there's probably not the comic book genre as we know it today wouldn't exist.
no, I've spoken to Mr. Uslan about this, and he was laughed out of every studio for Batman.
Mhm.
They told him no because they didn't. Batman was the number 2 guy, and they were like, well,
Yeah.
we already did Superman. They've already done the number 1 comic book character in the world. What can you bring? So like, it's the truth. Like if Superman 78 fails, the genre failed.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
100%.
Get to the juggernaut that is the MCU without everything that happens before it.
It made me, its legacy for me is it made me as a Batman fan. I was a Batman fan first and foremost.
You wanted it for your guy.
I wanted a Batman movie done like Superman that took it quote unquote serious. And about the same time is when Mr. Uslan is getting the rights to Batman, around 78, 79, I believe, 79.
Mhm.
And it's on the heels of Superman the movie. And for Pete's sake, no pun intended, even Tom Mankiewicz was hired in the early days, who did the script for Superman 1 and 2, based on Puzo's treatment. He was brought in to do what was called the Batman script, which that's what was being used in the early days of what became Batman 89.
Mhm.
Or Batman, is it Batman 88 or is it Batman 89, Pete?
It depends on who you talk to.
Okay. All right.
That's a little inside baseball.
So, and it was set up, it was structured a lot like that script. Have you ever read that script? It's out there. You can read
I
it.
have not. No.
Yeah, it's set up a lot like Superman the movie.
Mhm.
And then, of course, another legacy of it in the world of Batman is Chris Nolan. That was one of his inspirations to construct that type of film for Batman,
That's
which
when he
became
went to
Batman
Warner Brothers.
Begins. That big, that type of deal with and what you brought up earlier, the cast, getting these great actors to come in and be part of it was
Mhm.
part of his deal too. Getting Oldman, getting Kane, getting Liam Neeson, Christian Bale, basically quote unquote an unknown that time, more of a known than Christopher Reeve was, but still it's structured a lot like Superman the movie. You don't see Batman till almost the same time you see Superman and Superman
Maybe
the movie.
like 45 minutes in, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the legacy of it.
Yeah, and
Huge.
Donner and his wife also produced all those X-Men movies. So just
Yeah.
his
Correct.
his legacy within the genre was still going.
Yeah.
Like again, like he had a big hand in that. They produced those films, and you know, he created the genre, and he kind of revived it in 2000 with X-Men. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's when you had X-Men, you had Spider-Man. They all sort of popping up, and the genre kind of revived itself. So
It was.
again,
It was.
he had another hand in that.
It was dying after Batman and Robin. To be honest, I mean, it was kind of
that, and not enough people knew about Blade. While Blade was a solid action movie, no one they didn't know Blade was a comic book character.
True.
So as good as Blade was, and how it did essentially kind of keep the genre on life support until
it did in terms of for the studios. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The studio.
This material still has value.
Yeah.
That's why I say life support.
Yeah. Which was ironically, it was it's a Marvel property, but it was released by New Line. Yeah.
It's funny how that worked out.
Yeah. So
those New Line comic book movies are good. I like Shazam.
Yeah. What's your what does it mean? What does that movie mean to you? Superman the movie. And what is Donner's work? You kind of spoke about it earlier. What does Donner's stuff mean to you as well?
Superman the movie, to me, I still think it's as close to the definitive take on Superman as you can get, and it's not just based on Superman; it's everything around him. His cast of characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's groundbreaking. It's it's probably it was probably nerve-wracking for some. Donner said he thought 90% of what he did wasn't going to work until he saw it on screen.
Yeah.
So it was an adventure, and they were traveling into unknown territory back then. But his legacy as a director, from Superman to Lethal Weapon to the Goonies, Scrooge, there's so many great movies, and I haven't seen all of them. I now I kind of want to. I just kind of like pay some respect to honor the man's work, but I'm just thankful for everything that he was able to do in Hollywood, because he truly was a brilliant filmmaker. I feel like he's one of those directors that not a lot of people talk about anymore, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to hear a lot about Nolan. There's always a lot of Snyder talk. There's a lot of talk about Denis Villeneuve. And I feel like Donner kind of, he wasn't necessarily that active either, but like just based on legacy.
He was one of the first of the young hotshot directors.
Mm-hmm.
With Spielberg. I mean, he even predated them Spielberg just a bit. Had worked a little bit longer, but I mean, for me, yeah, it's Superman the movie. I mean, it had a profound effect on my life. And it really did. And so did, and I love the Lethal Weapon movies.
Yeah.
I love the Goonies. I mean, the Goonies, look, I mean, it's something that I was a little older then when it came out. It still resonated with me. I mean, I was still a teenager almost, ish, high school, but it's a lot with like, if you watch Stranger Things, that's one of the influences on Stranger Things, along with the stuff that Spielberg did and whatnot,
Donner even has, he's even got his foot in comics. Like, Jeff Johns is notoriously, his story is he called up on a phone, they put him on hold, they transferred him. Eventually by accident, he spoke to Richard Donner, he became an intern. And then Jeff Johns went on to change a lot in DC Comics. So, it kind of comes full circle. It started off in film, and eventually, he did have some 7 degrees of separation of some legacy in the print, and he wrote some Superman comics with John. So,
am I wrong where that's the first time the Superman S was meant to be a Kryptonian symbol for the House of L? I don't recall that before that in the comics at all.
Oh man, I'm not really positive. I know I think it was Mark. It was either, I can't remember if it was Millar or Wade. It was one of the Marks who made it stand for hope. I can't remember.
But just the symbol itself,
what if it means for L. I don't remember. I can't.
Because I'm not if you see, you watch the movie. I mean, the other elders that the other Kryptonian elders that Jor-El's talking to, Marlon
They all have
Brando,
their glyphs.
they all have the different, and then
Yeah.
of course, Superman wears the same one as Superman,
It might have been.
because I remember in my 13-year-old mind going, why does Jor-El have Superman's S on? And
That very well might have been because the George Reeves pilot episode of Superman the TV show is very accurate, but they don't wear like the logos. So I think you might be right on that one. I'm not totally positive, but I think you might be. And I love the Kryptonian fashion. I love their glowing.
Yeah, and you've
great.
And you've seen its influence on other Superman properties. I mean, you've seen it, and you saw it in Smallville. You saw it in. I mean, you're seeing it in Superman and Lois right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
also you see there's a lot of Superman the movie in Spider-Man 2002. Like, there's a whole shirt rip scene in that pays homage to that Superman 78 movie, and it's great. And we got to see it in Justice League too. So I feel like it's just there's the roots of that movie go so deep within fandom. I mean, it was the first one everyone saw it, and there's definitely you could see the appreciation from Wonder Woman to Spider-Man 1, and it just continues to this day, like to Superman 78, that's going to come out really soon. So
correct. I mean, we have a comic book. It's going to continue the story. Just same as the Batman 89, or is it Batman 88 and Superman 77? Tell me am I right or wrong?
You could possibly be right.
Okay.
It depends.
So if I go with Superman 78 and Batman 89, I'm safe.
I think you are.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to do it. What would you say? One thing, let me ask you this. What would you say to a kid, maybe a high schooler who digs the comic book movies, because the genre is like in its golden age now, and someone in their 20s who's never seen Superman the movie? What would you say to convince them why it's a must watch?
Just because I say, because this is the stepping stone. This is what got all this started. You're not here without this. That, and I honestly believe it's the most faithful, I feel, to the source material. There, not everything is perfect, but I just, like I said, like the cast of characters around Superman is very essential to me, and I need Jimmy Olsen in a Superman movie, to be brutally honest. So you gotta start from the beginning, if anything, it's just for, the history of this genre, I wouldn't, as a baseball reference, I wouldn't call myself a baseball fan unless I did some reading on the 27 Yankees, right? Like Murderers Row. I gotta know who those guys are, because that's arguably the greatest offense in the history of the sport. So it's like something like that. It doesn't have to be your favorite. You don't have to love it, but just respect it for what it did for where you are now.
Yes. And would it surprise you if I agree with you? Because I am a fancy myself as a amateur historian, and
we're gatekeepers.
I do kind of like history. I did kind of teach history for 30 years along with coaching football. So, all right. Well, thank you, Dick Donner, Mr. Donner, for Superman the movie and the Goonies and everything you've done. Big influence, big impact on my life. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you with Batman on film if there hadn't been Superman the movie. It cemented cement. It's another one. Cemented cement or cement.
I'm not going to get involved. Someone's going to make this into a drop on the internet.
I don't care. It's cemented my love for live action serious, quote unquote, serious adaptations for my favorite comic book characters. And, and to be honest, I'd always wanted to see a Spider-Man movie done right. And that came eventually with Sam Raimi and whatnot we mentioned before. So that's all I got on that. Pete, any last words? And if not, and you,
no, just thank you. That's all. Just thank you.
All right, then plug, please.
You can follow me on social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Zack Snyder's favorite Vero at Pete Illustrated. You can follow the show that I co-host with the champion of Long Island, Eric Holzman, at straight_O_G. That's straight out of Gotham. That's both on Instagram and Twitter. We are on Facebook. We have a page and we have a group. Please check out our podcast wherever you can find good podcasts. Also check out my side podcast that I co-host with Sausage and Meatball, Nico Caruso and his father, Nicholas Caruso. That's the Italian Spider-Man Coalition. You can follow us on Twitter at Italians for Spidey. We have another show coming up later on in the month. Fun topic, and I can't wait to dig into that. Check out my reviews of Detective Comics, Dark Detective, Man Bat, Deathstroke from back in the day on batmanonfilm.com. I've got toy reviews on Batman on Film YouTube. I've got interviews with Uslin and Conroy, Tara Strong. I got a bunch of good stuff on Batman on Film YouTube. Please check all
you
that
just
good
did
stuff out.
You just reviewed the animated series grappling thing.
I did that. That's fresh. I got one. I got another one that's currently in production, I guess you would say. That I'll be sending you probably hopefully by the end of the week. So just check that out. Batman on Film YouTube, Batman on Film proper. I'm all over the place on Twitter. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter. Don't be a dick. And I'd love to talk to you about whatever it is you got on your mind.
Don't be a dick shoes. I know where you're going with that.
No, that's not where I was going, but that's just as good. That's not where I was going.
We have too much fun on these shows, Pete. Sometimes. All right.
You guys should see the text thread.
That was correct. All right. So what can I plug? All right. What have I done lately? Not this one. I'm proud of this show. I thought it was really good. I can't wait for y'all to listen to it. If you're hearing this right now, you already have. If you like what we do, chip it on Patreon. Helps keep this thing going. Patreon.com/Batman on Film. All the shows are part of the Batman Podcast Network, batmanpodcastnetwork.com. And you can check out the Twitter version of that at BatPod Network on Twitter. Thanks to Ryan Haas, another senior Batman on Film contributor. And Pete, I got some there's some new-ish Batman t-shirts, Batman on Film t-shirts, and other stuff you can find at TeePublic.
Great.
If you want to represent Batman on Film, just go to the website and click on the TeePublic banner, or just go to TeePublic. I want to say teepublic.com/Batman on Film, but you'll find it through Batman on Film. And that's really all I got. And it's getting close to the Batman, Pete. And we're less than 8 months now. So I will say, if you're out there and you're a fan of Batman on Film, you listen to our podcast, you listen to the Pete shows as well, you want to come hang out with us in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area next March the 5th, a Saturday, to watch the Batman. Start making those plans now. Because
I think you should come even if you hate us. This way you can meet us and realize we're not so bad. We're not as bad as you guys think we are on Twitter.
Well, they all love they love everybody but me. So it's
no, that's not true.
It's amazing because people sometimes don't realize I'm kind of a cool, nice guy.
You just you don't translate well on Twitter sometimes.
I would, you know what? That's good. It's a good thing. Do you know that Jennifer Lopez is going to play Catwoman in The Flash?
I heard that. Was that BOF Cultured got this? What's the name of that website?
It's called the Cultured BOF Cosmic got this covered cosmically.
Oh,
How about
Cosmic.
that?
Oh, I can't believe that guy's still around. He's like the
Cultured
anti-Garth.
The cultured BOF has got this covered cosmically. How about that?
Have fun putting that.
I'm gonna make a note right now. I'm gonna make a note to secure that URL immediately as soon as I get off this podcast.
We still got to secure Aquaman on film. Remember?
Yes. All right, here we go. Let's get the hell out of here. Batman on film. Pete, we're going to do, we haven't done one of these in a while. Batman on film, authoritative, definitive.
Original.
And we will catch you next time. Thanks, Richard Donner, for Superman the movie and all the other stuff. Appreciate it. 91's a good run, brother. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Batman on Film Social Hour, Jett's official BOF podcast and vlog. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film. For BOF news only on Twitter, follow at the Batman on Film. For Jett and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.